Hi everyone, welcome back. Today's DIY is going to start with these mint green pumpkins from Dollar Tree. I'm going to go ahead and remove the raffia bows. I'm going to sand down the glitter. And after that's done, I am going to remove all of the stems. After all of that is done, you can see the glitter is gone, the stems are gone. It's time to remove these stickers in the back. And I want to thank viewer Shelly Lemons, who suggested that I use a washcloth and an iron on steam to help get these sticky stickers off. Dollar Tree at one point had really easy to peel labels on the back, but for some reason these pumpkins have the old sticky type of labels on them. So this helped so much in getting them off. So thanks Shelly for that tip. To help remove them, I did use one of the mini scrapers from Dollar Tree, and I used the blunt end, not the razor edge. That would dig into the MDF and scrape up the surface. So if you use the mini scraper like I did, make sure you use the blunt end. After that is done to all of the little pumpkins, I'm going to group them. I want 2 groups of 2 pumpkins, 1 group of 3 pumpkins, and then 2 single pumpkins on their own. Now I'm going to use some super glue from Gorilla Glue and glue the groups of pumpkins together. I would not use hot glue for this. I would use a stronger glue because these little pumpkins can get heavy when they're in a group. So I do suggest using something stronger than hot glue. And I also clamped them together while they dried. Once they dried, I did let them dry overnight. I'm going to glue them together, and I'm actually going to turn them upside down and use the smooth edge as the top. And then I'm going to line them up just like this. And this is going to give me one side where there is no writing at all visible. And that's really what I want. You can see that the stem parts are at the bottom. And then on the opposite side, I have 2 parts where you can still see the writing on the signs. So that is what I'm going to take care of right now. I'm going to paint all of the sign. And to do that, I'm going to mix these paints. This is Waverly Acrylic in Kelly, Waverly Chalk in Celery, Waverly Chalk in Moss, and a white chalk paint. It does look lighter as it's wet when I'm painting it on, but it does dry down to a really close matching color, as you can see. So I was happy with the way that turned out. And this is how I'm going to glue the pumpkins together. I'm going to start with gluing the group of 2 pumpkins onto the group of 3 pumpkins. And then the single pumpkin, I'll glue that to the 2 pumpkins. And then I'll do the same on the opposite side. I ran out of the little tube of the Gorilla Super Glue, so now I'm just moving on to the Gorilla Clear Glue. I wrapped it with painter's tape until it dried, and I left it to dry overnight. Now, as you can see, there are those gaps there at the top. So I'm going to use this color changing wood filler that I found at Lowe's to help fill in those gaps. And I'm going to use a large craft stick from Dollar Tree to help apply it. And it goes on pink, and it turns a natural color when it's ready to be sanded and painted. If you don't have this, please don't go out and buy it. You can use the $1 spackle that you can find at Dollar Tree. That would work just as well. I happened to be at Lowe's getting other items and then just picked this up. So you can see the color change to a natural, so I did sand it down. I also distressed the edges of the pumpkin with the sandpaper. Now I'm going to take more of the paint and paint over the wood filler. And now I'm going to leave that to dry completely. Once it has dried, I'm going to take 2 of the wood stems from Dollar Tree and glue them together. And it is because this pumpkin is so large, I needed a longer stem for it. I glued it to the top of the pumpkin. And then off camera, I went ahead and made bows for the top of it. You can see I used the tubing that I bought, the raffia bow from one of the original pumpkins, and I secured it to the back using some floral wire from Dollar Tree. For the next DIY, I'm going to take apart one of these velveteen pumpkins that you can get at Dollar Tree. Doesn't matter which color, because I want it for the little pumpkin form that's underneath. Using one of these buffalo check pet bandanas, I'm going to cover the pumpkin in the bandana. The dimensions of the bandana were perfect. This was one of the large bandanas. And I used minimal glue, and I didn't have to cut it at all. So a lot of rolling and tucking and maneuvering, I was able to cover the little pumpkin form completely. And like I said, just use a little bit of glue to help everything stick. I left sort of a little tail out, and that's going to form a little leaf. I used scissors to help push some of the material farther down. And now I'm going to take some jute cord from Dollar Tree, and I am going to place that where the ridges of the pumpkin naturally occur in the little styrofoam form. I tried not to use a lot of hot glue. I did try to push the ends down using scissors, but there were some points where I felt it necessary to use hot glue to make sure that it was secure. Ultimately, I just wanted to be able to take the bandana off and use it for another project. And if not, to be able to use the pumpkin once again for another project. Now I'm going to take a wood stem from Dollar Tree and hot glue that right to the center. And that pumpkin's all done. When I did take the stem, the original stem off the pumpkin, I had this little bud vase sitting next to me, and I happened to pop it right on there, and it occurred to me, it looks like a gourd. So I thought, let's turn it into a gourd. So I painted it the same color as the large pumpkin. Then I took some chocolate acrylic paint and painted the stem sparingly. And now I'm going to go over the little vase gourd with the chocolate paint. Then I took a dry fan brush and did a little dry brushing over the stem. And once it dried, I just used a little bit of hot glue to glue it to the top. Now it's not going to fit perfectly because the top of the bud vase is a perfect circle, and as you can see, the top of the stem isn't. It covers it mostly, but there is an itty bitty gap that you'd be able to see if you're standing right over it. But I think it's a good replication of a gourd. What do you guys think? Here I have another little velveteen pumpkin. This time I'm going to use a scrap piece of denim material. If you guys watched my walkthrough of the 99-cent store recently, they are selling denim pumpkins, and I cut up a denim jumpsuit that I had to make face masks for myself, and this was a leftover piece from that project. The dimensions of this extra piece of fabric wasn't quite as perfect as the dog bandana from Dollar Tree, so it took a lot more maneuvering and a lot more planning to get it to fit the way that I wanted it to, but ultimately it worked out. And again, I will be covering the grooves of the pumpkin with the jute cord from Dollar Tree. And using one of the wood stems as a stem for the pumpkin. So I'm not quite done with this little guy yet. I did go ahead and hot glue on a buffalo check cascading ribbon, and then I decided to dry brush some white chalk paint on the bumpy parts of the pumpkin for distressing. Drop a comment below and let me know how you think this gourd turned out. I know it's not a usual shape of a gourd, but isn't that the nature of a gourd, to be weirdly shaped? Here's our little denim pumpkin with the buffalo check ribbon. And here's a look at how the large pumpkin turned out. You can paint this in any color you want to. You could distress it even more. You could paint distressing on it, but I really liked the look of it with just sanding the edges down. And here's our little pumpkin made from the dog bandana. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, let me know and show your support for the channel by giving this video a thumbs up. I hope you all are doing well and staying safe, and I'll see you in my next video. Take care, everyone. Bye.